Chile, the longest country of the world, the country that's Earth's eye to the universe because it has 50% of all the astronomical equipments. Let's talk to astrobiologist Dr. Priscilla Nowajewski. She's the president of the Mars Society in Chile, a climatologist and a data analyst at the ALMA Observatory. She's the first Chilean woman with a publication on planetary atmosphere and their habitability. Listen till the end to discover amazing fun facts. My personal highlights include astrobiologist versus a biologist, the naming system in Chile, what would happen if you tilt the axis of Earth, astronomy versus astrology, how strikingly Empanada looks like Karangi that we have in India, that and much more. You are listening to Rocklaz Radio, and this is your host Tanmay Shah. If you're watching this on YouTube, comment and let us know your favorite part. If you're listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify, drop a 5-star review and share this with your friends. Chile, what do you love the most about Chile?
The climate. Because I don't know if you know where is Chile, but it's the longest country in the world,
Yeah.
placed in South America. It's basically one huge coast. And it's very
Yeah,
interesting
we
because we have all the climates, basically.
all the zones, you have all the zones. So I'm going to pull
Yes.
up the map of Chile to show the audience as we go along. So this is friends from Mozambique. In the last episode, we're going to Chile. This is Chile on the southern coast of South America. So this is the
Yes.
whole long country, 4,000 plus kilometers long, and it's massively long. I'll show you the scale comparison. So if you pick up Chile and take it to Europe, it starts from Norway and it ends at Libya. That's Africa. That's how long it is. And if you see it in India, it will go from Kazakhstan to Tamil Nadu. That's how long and huge Chile is. So a very unique geographical location. I'm sure, as you mentioned, there are a lot of seasons as you travel up and down. And another fun fact is you're giving an high five to Antarctica on the south. I believe you're the closest to Antarctica here. So amazing
Yeah, we also
location.
have a portion of the Antarctica is part of the territory also.
Oh,
So it
is it?
continues. Yes.
I didn't know people owned Antarctica.
It's
Which part
a
do you own?
base. Yeah, it's a base for science, basically. So when you go to the southern part of Chile, you can enter to the Antarctic from there. So it's basically
Yeah,
the
I
way that
see.
it's a gateway, basically.
That's amazing. So you love the weather. And
Yes.
where are you talking to us from? Which part of Chile?
Now I'm near Santiago. Santiago is the main country, is the capital. And now
Mhm.
I'm a little to the south in Santiago, so I
And
don't
where
know
is
if
Alma?
Alma is located.
Where is
Can you
Alma
see
on
the
the map?
desert? Yeah, it's the desert, and
Atacama. Okay.
there is a San Pedro de Atacama. It's a place in there. Can you see it?
I can see Calma. I can see.
Yeah, it's near
Uh,
Calama, the one that you just pronounced, and you can see a brown
yeah.
part with a little green place there.
Okay.
It's near
Reserva
that place.
Nacional Los Fermin.
Yeah, that well,
Okay. So
when
it's
the
it's on.
arrow is in the altiplano, and Alma is located around there, a little bit to the north of the arrow.
Okay.
So
And I am coming up with so many amazing facts about Chile. It has the 50% of all astronomical instruments are in Chile.
Yes.
Half of the world's astronomical devices are in Chile. That makes it a perfect. That makes it a perfect eye to the universe.
And you know what? Why
And I'm so
do
glad
we
to.
have
Yes. Yeah, tell
also
me.
again, it's basically because of the weather. Because there
Why?
it's basically the reason. Because there is a very special configuration in the desert because Atacama Desert is the driest desert in the world. So we have this very special configuration because in front of the north coast of Chile, there is a high pressure that is all the time placing there and is giving us a very good weather conditions. And that makes that the desert is very dry. And for astronomy, that means for infrared astronomy or radio astronomy also as in ALMA, we need to have very low water vapor conditions. And that's why most of the telescopes and even the biggest one, now there is a extremely large telescope that is being building in near the Atacama Desert. And the conditions are very stable during the year. So that is amazing for astronomy.
That's fabulous. And I love the names you have. Very large telescope and extremely large telescope.
I don't know the creativity of the people that make those names, but it's funny. Yeah.
Alma, you work at Alma, so that's what's the full form of Alma?
Sorry, can you say again?
What is the full form of what is the full
Full
form of
form of ALMA.
Alma?
Atacama Large. Well, it's sub-millimeter array, basically. It's an array of
So it's
antennas.
large, but it is okay.
Yeah, it's also the
Large
largest array of antennas in the world.
Atacama large millimeter array. Array.
Array.
Okay.
Yeah.
So array. So I like how it mentions large and millimeter in the same acronym.
Yeah.
Like millimeters is quite small. And talking about these radio telescopes, I am so glad I'm talking to you today, an expert in astrology, in astrobiology, in fact, and I have been passionate about astrology, and I have visited GMRT. So that's Giant Meter Wave Radio Telescope in
Yeah.
India. So that was an interesting experience when I was very small, but glad to be talking to a person who's at Alma and at the eye of the world to the universe. So welcome to the show.
But
What
yeah, I need to make a little correction because it's not astrology, it's astronomy. And those are very
astronomy?
different
Sorry,
things.
sorry,
Yeah, for the people that usually, but
sorry,
it's something
mispronounced.
interesting. No, don't worry. But it's interesting because most of the people think about astronomy that we read the cards and make, I don't know, astral charts and everything. But it's not really that. We look for the stars and how they behave and other um, bodies in the universe. So
There
yeah,
was
that's basically what we do.
there was a funny video on YouTube, like just like me, who there was this high. It was a date kind of situation where there was an astrologer, not astrologer,
Hmm.
astronomer, who
Yeah.
was in this girl who was talking to her, and she asked, "What do you do?" So she says, "I'm an astrophysicist." So this girl asked him, "Oh, I'm Gemini. What is your sign?"
That's the usual one. And even we made a video, is in our ALMA Observatory Instagram, that you can see us. Even I am in the video also, and we have the same questions, and we are like, "What? Why? No." Yeah, it's very funny.
So, what are your views on What What are your views on astrology? How do you think constellations affect us?
I think it's for fun. It's interesting. Yeah, everybody, even here next to us in Argentina, there is a comedian that he makes all the stand-ups, his routines based on the horoscope and how people behave depending on the sign that they have. Is so funny. I really enjoy those type of comedy, but I don't use it for my real life because it's not something that we are working on. And historically, the constellations that Ptolemy saw when they define the current houses that we see in the horoscope, uh, we now have 88 constellations. So, which is my sign? I don't know. Who knows now?
Amongst the horoscopes and constellation, which horoscope do you think has the highest chances of having a life in it?
Ooh, that's a very good question. But well, I don't really know where is this planetary system. I you give me homework now. Yeah, I'm going to look for that because I know the planetary system, but where is it? Yeah, that's a very good question. I'm going to search for that. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that would
I don't
get
know. I think that Trappist is the one.
Trappist.
Trappist one, the planetary
Trappist?
system.
I
Yeah, it
Trappist
has
1. Okay. I don't know where
seven.
that is. In
Yeah, me neither. So you give me a homework. We need to look for that. Where is it? I don't know.
so that would get even the people in astrology very interested. You can make a headline video that'll go viral that this horoscope or this star sign has the most chances of having life. So that will
Yeah,
pull
and
them
how
to
that
astronomy from astrology.
yeah, I don't know how that is going to change everything for these people, but I don't know. We can make comedy about it.
Yes. Okay. About coming back to Chile, what is one thing you could you would what is one thing you would like to change about Chile?
To change, oh, that's a very political and difficult question because there is so many things that I would like to change. But of course, one of the things that for me is very important is to keep the environment safe and the ecosystem safe. So I would like to have more things related. I know that there is a lot of people working in this, and I think that with the climate crisis that we are living, there is more people conscious about that we really need to keep our ecosystem safe. So I think that we are now doing something about it, and that's very important. And I think that is one of the things that is very important for me also.
Hmm. What is your favorite traditional festivals? Yes.
I think that maybe New Year. I'm so I well, there is some festivals. We don't have a lot of festivals, indeed. There is one that I went once. It's a religious one in July, and it's amazing because it's 1 week where the people. This is in the north of Chile. The place is La Tirana, and the people is around 1 week dancing the whole day and the whole night as an offer to the Virgin Carmen, I think. And
Hmm.
we went once to that festival, and it was amazing. I am not even a religious person, but it was amazing how they offer their bodies and dancing all the time. No, it's amazing. I think I really enjoyed that one. But my favorite is New Year.
So I pulled up some photos. Are any of these photos related to that event?
Let me
Like this
check.
one.
Ah, yes. That's the traditional dance and in the Independence Day. The dance is
Hmm.
cueca. It's our folklore. But let me see. No, it's a different one. Ah, the one that says. Can you go back because I think
What is
I
the
saw
name? I'll
once.
search it out.
La Tirana is. Can you see that says Chile Pure Travel Group, and the people have a mask in their heads? That one.
Chile. Where is the mask? In which row? On which side? Bottom right,
The
top right? This
first,
one? Okay. Chile. Okay. Travel group. Got it.
yeah, that one. That one is
Oh.
from
What is this?
La Tirana, and is well, is so there are several groups that work giving an offer. I don't know if that is Chilean really, but the other one, no, I think that is from Peru maybe or Bolivia.
Okay. Let's pull the original Chile image.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
well, that's
Interesting.
the
So I didn't think.
yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I know that the
I
other
didn't
one is
think
the
Chile had
typical.
mask festivals.
Yeah, I think it's the only one because in I know that in South America there is well several festivals around the region, but basically most of them are religious. And if I'm not wrong, I think this is the only one that people wear masks and they dance the whole time. It's really amazing
Hmm.
to go to that celebration.
Have you been to any festival of the natives?
No, yeah, that's the name, La Tirana. If you go back again to the first one,
Yeah.
yeah, it says La Tirana Festival in Chile. The name of that.
Wow. And when
Yeah,
does
it's
this
amazing.
happen?
In July,
When does this happen? Okay. Yes. July is the winter for you, I believe.
yes,
Okay. Carry your warm clothes, guys, when you're visiting.
it's really
How about
amazing.
food?
Yeah,
What is your favorite food?
Chilean one or can be
Yes.
from Chilean one.
Let's talk about
Empanadas.
Chilean first and then
Okay, okay.
empanadas. Okay.
Is empanadas de pino fritas. That's my favorite. That means pino is not the well, pino is the name for a tree, the pine, but here we use it as a mix of onion, meat, and garlic, and some people put another spices in there. And you put that into
Can you?
a mass, I think,
Mhm.
and then you fry it and you eat it. Ah, but it has also that's one of the things. You also have to put it eggs, raisins, and you have your empanada. It's amazing, and we usually use
Is
it, or my mom do it basically that once for the Independence Day.
mm, is this the thing you're talking about? Empanadas?
Yes.
Lovely. Guess what? We have a very similar looking, not similar, same looking item in India.
Yeah. What is
Where
the
I
name for
had,
that?
like in my India has many languages, so many names. In my family, we call it gunja, but in my
Yeah.
region, it's called karangi. So it looks like this, but it's a sweet dish. There is, sh- wait, let me pull it. Ah, yeah, this one. Do you see on the screen?
Yeah. Ah, it's the same.
See this? Yeah, it's the same, exactly the same. But if you open it, there will be sugar and coconut, dry coconut, and things like that, or jaggery. Oh yeah,
Mm,
some people have it put vegetables also inside it.
that's
We
really
make it during
nice.
our festival of Diwali. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Okay. The Bali is the Festival of Lights.
Yes.
Ah, amazing. Yeah.
The Diwali is I think, the worst festival of astronomers because the sky is polluted with light. It's all light, and you cannot see anything in the sky,
Yeah.
isn't it?
But it's one day or it's 1 week.
1 week.
Ah, it's 1 week. Okay, so yeah, that's a nightmare for astronomy.
All right. Empanadas. Keep that in mind. What is one wedding ritual that is very Chilean?
Literature.
Sorry.
Can you repeat again?
What is one wedding ritual, marriage ritual that is very unique to Chile?
Ritual. No, I think that is
Wedding?
the usual one. Is
Okay.
go to the church or go to the, I don't know, to the, it's a civil marriage here that you have to take an hour and you sign a document. So it depends basically on the people that is going to marry. We don't have any rituals like you that you have 1 week of celebration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds very similar in Latin America because even a friend from Argentina was saying that. It is very, it, it doesn't have that lackluster as it is there in other places, but that's good in a way. You
I don't know.
celebrate
I
other.
would like to have 1 week of celebration, of course. But I don't know. For the money, I think it's very expensive to do that. And with all the
Oh
family and
yeah,
all the. Yeah, so. Yeah. I prefer to escape
it is.
somewhere.
I'll tell you some fun fact about it. In
Yeah.
America and USA and in West, people say that I'm saving up for my children's education, right? Parents save up for the children's education. But in India, you'll hear parents saving up for their children's marriage. So you'll see, I've saved this money for my daughter's marriage.
That's a lot of money in the whole life, saving money for the marriage. Yeah, but anyway, I think the ritual is amazing. I have seen it, and nah, I would like to go there.
And guess
What?
guess what? Something new. If you come to Mumbai, if you come to India, you can attend a marriage. So people can sell you marriage tickets. There's a new website that has started doing that
Really?
to
And I can
foreigners.
go there just like
Yeah,
without an invitation?
yeah. That's a new way of entertainment or viewing the culture, new experience that you can have when you come to India.
That's amazing. Thank you for telling me that because I really want to go to one of those. Yeah.
Abs- Absolutely. And if it
Wow.
coincides with my wedding, of course we can plan that also. But it's not
Let
sure,
me
okay?
know.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
let
not
me know.
confirmed. Yeah. Another fact that I was searching and came about Chile was husbands and wife do not share their last names with each other.
Yeah, no.
The last name is not same.
No. We keep our last names. So everybody here have at least two names and two last names. That's why
How come?
when you say search for a publication, for example, you can see this composite last name, like something with something else, and it's basically because it's the first last name is from the male, the parent, the husband, and the second one for the children's, not for the wife. And the second last name it came from the mother. So we have our father and mother's last name, and it's also very well usual that we all of us have at least two first names. For example, my name is Priscilla Viviana Nowajewski-Barra. So I have four two names and two last names. And in publication, that can be something weird because I have to put, and I like to put, because a lot of people only take the first last name from the parent, from the father, but I like to put also my mom's last name. So I in my publication and when I present myself, usually not here, I have to put it. Is Nowajewski slash or with a I forgot the name, but Raya
Hyphen.
and
Yeah.
Barra Nowajewski-Barra. So that's usual for us, but it's optional to present like that. So you can see my name
So
in there with only
Novyevsky
one.
is from your mother.
No, it's from
Novyevsky is
my
from your
father.
mother or father?
Father,
Okay. And Bara is from your mother.
my mother. Yeah. So if I
Okay.
if I change here my name, I don't know if I can put it, and I can show you the my whole last name. Yeah.
So your two names, your first names also you mentioned are two. So which one is given by your mother and which one is given by your father? Your first names. Priscilla is your mother's or father's side?
Okay. No, I think my mom put my first name, and my father, I think he puts my second name, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I know my mom's
So it must be
really
very
loved the Priscilla Presley, and she put my name because of that.
Elvis Presley.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting story.
Yeah.
It it must be an event. It must be an event to decide your children's name, right? It must be a complex process.
Yeah, I think so. I don't have children's, but I can imagine that it's very difficult because other fun fact that we have here, and this, I don't know if in Santiago is something usual now in these modern times, but in regions, so to the south or the north, or maybe the people that is more conservative with the families, they put the first name of the children is the same name of the father or the mother. So you have a series of, I don't know, my mom is Carmen and my sister is also Carmen, and you have several Carmens in your family. Or you can have, I don't know, Ricardo. Ricardo is the father, but it was also the grandfather. So you have like three generations of the same name. And if you the father and put the same name to the children, you have two persons with the same name, and the only difference is the second last name.
How do you call each other when you go to family meets?
It's the same. We have well, we put names here, funny names. That's something very Chilean, I think. And not to make fun of the people, but it's, I don't know, we have our names for everything and everybody's like an slang. So I call my mom from one way and I call my sister from another way, and we didn't talk to us in the formal way. So I am not Priscilla when I am in my family meeting, for example. I have another name.
What do they call you? What do they call you in family meetings?
Well, maybe Pris is the third part of my name, or they, I don't know, my mom have several names for me. So and I know that she's calling me. So yeah.
Okay. New problems, new solutions. Everybody has their own nicknames when you go to the
Yes.
family meet.
Yeah.
I also figured that Chile has the lowest divorce rate. So, is there a correlation between keeping the names and the low divorce rates?
No, I don't know, but what I know now, after the or during the pandemic, the level of divorce increased a lot because people, I think that was the first time that they were really living together. So there was a lot of divorce during the pandemic and a lot of children
Hmm.
birth and everything. So you have the two part of the story.
How was the pandemic for a astronomer, an astrophysicist?
Well, I was not working in Alma during that time. Uh, I was doing classes, and also I have my own group. I have a community. The name is the Chilean chapter of Mars Society.
Hmm.
And during the pandemic, I basically made a lot of outreach. We also write a book about astrobiology, and this was a foundation. It's a community now, but it was a foundation, and we were selling our courses in astrobiology, writing a lot of contents, and I was basically
Hmm.
doing that during the pandemic, and also taking classes in India because I made an internship in rocket science online. So it was
Oh,
amazing. Yeah, for me it was amazing. I really enjoyed to be
and
online and connected to everybody. Yeah.
so a rocket science team in India. What were you doing?
The name I cannot remember the name. I am really bad with names, but I think it was Shuret. I'm not really sure, but we were I took a 1 month internship online. And the first week we were Stars is the name. The first week it was basically classes, theory about rockets and how they work and all the equations and everything related to rockets. And after that, we create groups and we were working designing. I think the name is like a rocket pad. So it's the place where you make tests to see if the propulsion is okay. So we were designing that not in real, but using some programs also to make this, and it was amazing. Of course, the time different was difficult for me because it was like 7 a.m. for me, 8 a.m. for me. But anyway, I usually took classes in India, and also with there is a university that is creating a program in astrobiology, the Amity University, and I also
Amity,
took
huh?
classes, yeah, with them, Mars Society Australia, and that was 3 a.m. in the morning. So I was in there anyway because it was so fun. I was with my jacket and everything, with my eyes almost closing, but I was hearing everything anyway.
That's wonderful to talk about rockets and India because we just successfully landed the Chandrayaan 3, the
Yeah,
rover on Mars, Vikram rover, Vikram lander, and a rover Prayas rover inside it. That's a great achievement. First time any country has landed on the South Pole. So yeah, glad to be having this on this day. Good synchronicity.
yeah, it's
What do you
amazing.
think about this landing?
Oh, it's amazing. I have seen, well, since the pandemic, I have seen all the development of India, and you're dedicating a lot of time and resources to space development, and it's amazing. I think it's a very good example of for other countries that we can also achieve this type of things. And
Hmm.
I think to that you have your lander in that in the moon is like the I don't know, the culmination. Maybe you're having all this effort, you now can see it, and you have the people that also can do it, so that's amazing. Yeah, I have been looking the all the development, and 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 I would love to see something like that in my country also. But of course, is very different, the situation between the two countries. So no, I think it's amazing.
Hmm. Yeah, but in science, there is no country, right? Everybody's contributing to science. It's a human race
Yeah.
in quest of other races. What would you call our other? Like we call ourselves human race. What do you call all the living beings on Earth as a common name? Like when we talk to living things on Mars, how do we identify each other? Like Earthlings? What would you say? Call your ourselves?
But you're thinking only for Earth, or taking into account the solar system?
Whatever. If I go and meet a Martian, how do I introduce myself?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know if you talk to you or you introduce yourself like a earthling, maybe the people is not going to understand what you're talking about. Maybe a living, no, organism, maybe. But it's something, but it's difficult because you have to take into account the language, how you are going to communicate, because
Hmm.
you are now assuming that the extraterrestrials or Martians are going to understand our language. And maybe the way to do it is not using the language. We need to communicate in another way. Maybe even mathematics is a type of language. The symbols that we use in mathematics is language. So I don't know, maybe the light can be a way of communicate as we do it now with astronomy, that we are trying to understand what is in the light, and that is given as a message. So maybe that's the way that we can do it.
What about people beyond our solar system?
No, I think it's the same. We are
We
communicating through electromagnetic waves, basically.
we had sent a satellite, right, which had image of a man and a woman, and it had some diagrams, and it was just sent away to, I don't know what the name is and when it was done, but I remember the picture of the man and the woman, and
Mhm.
there was these rays coming out, and there was pointing to the earth. How do you think those people would understand that diagram?
I think that, well, I can remember if it's the Voyager or the Pioneer missions that they have this golden disc with those inscriptions. And yeah, the idea of them was to send this information, to tell whoever is out there that there is two human forms in, I have it in here. There is two human forms that are located between the race that you're telling is the position of some quasars. I think that the intersection of these lights is giving you the position of the earth. That is basically the message. But I don't know if somebody is going to understand that that's a quasar or that's the position. Yeah, the intersection is pointing something, but which quasar where, I don't know really. But yeah, maybe again, I think is you can send, well, you're going to take this disc if you found it, and you're going to understand that there is something else out there, and you are going to have a message to describe, to decipher. But if they are going to take it, have the good answer, we don't know. Maybe not. I think I have it in here because in the book that we wrote, I put, yeah, this one. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes.
And this is very interesting. This is are the Voyagers 1 and 2, and the first one on one of the Voyager missions. uh, have this image of the two person and the rate of light with the quasar. So they put whale sounds and other type of sounds also. But and the pioneers also, yeah, okay, so the voyagers have this golden disc with greetings in 60 languages and music, and the pioneer has this illustration with the human figure based on Leonardo da Vinci drawings and Greek sculpture. Yeah,
Oh,
so I
wow.
don't know if somebody's going to understand what we are telling here, but we we put a
At
question,
least it was an effort.
yeah, to someone else.
What makes you think that there is life out there? We are not alone. Why do you think we are not alone in the universe?
Well, you're assuming that I think that we are not alone, but maybe we are.
Reading
Yeah.
that you're an astrobiologist, I presume that you know that there is life there. Hence the question, why do you think we are not alone in this universe?
Yeah, well, I was joking around with that. Of course, I want to discover, and I'm looking, waiting for the news when somebody discover that there is life outside. But when you begin to study and to understand how difficult it was to have life on earth, and how life developed and all the processes that were in between, all the steps and the processes that life and the earth um, make, and and that help to life to develop, and to see the things that we can see now, you really wonder if you're going to have something else, or if you're going to find life as you maybe in some other planet, because it's really difficult. It's a very difficult process, and we don't really know how life on earth began. We can have like an idea, there is a lot of theories also, but we don't really know how this happened, and if it's something usual on planets, because now we are discovering several planets, but we don't really know if those planets have life, or they can have life in the future. We don't know that. The Mars is the case. For example, now we are looking for life on Earth and on Mars, but we are also looking. We have more chances to have um, ancient Mars with life because of the water, than to have it now in the present. So I think it's so complex that if somebody discover that there is life on other planet, it's going to change everything that we know now. And yeah, I hope that somebody make the discovery, but I don't know how easy can it be. I think it's very difficult.
You mentioned water. We all
Hmm.
are of hydrogen and carbon atoms. Is it necessary to have water, or are we looking at the wrong signals? Can there be life based on some other materials as well?
Well, I am not really a biologist or an expert in microorganisms, but we know that life and everything on nature search for the ways to be more efficient, and to waste the less of energy in the process. So depending, the carbon makes this process to create an organism, a living organism, more easier than other type of molecules and other type of elements. And that's one of the things that we know, basically because we have only one type of life that we know. Life on Earth is this way, and it's difficult to say that we are looking in a wrong way because we don't know what else to look. We don't know any other way of life, form of life. So, what are basically doing now is to search for the things that we know because it's the only thing that we know, basically. So, until now, the discovery of exoplanets is giving us an idea, for example, of where to look. And we have been also looking on Earth, which are the conditions on Earth that is making it so values. Why was on Earth where the life begins, and why we are here now? And we are basically looking for those conditions because are the one that we know that can make that life develop. So until we discover life on other planets, we are not going to have another idea of what is life on other places. So we really don't know.
As an astrobiologist who is in the quest to search life beyond Earth, what is the process? What are the checklists you follow when you're wondering, discovering in the open universe?
Yeah, I think it depends basically on the science area, because the way that astronomers look for life is very different from the things that a biologist is going to look. For example, biologists search a lot of extremophiles, so they go to these very extreme environments in different places of the earth, in the surface of the earth, and also under the water in the ocean, so they can see which type of life forms evolve in which conditions. So they are very interested on the ecosystem and how um, the environment make that this type of form evolve in these very extreme conditions. But astronomers, for example, look for planets, and I think in the last maybe 5 or 10 years, um, to discover exoplanets have been also like an interdisciplinary area. This is planetary science. Um, so they are also interested in the conditions in the interior of the planet. So until few years ago, astronomers were looking the location of the planet and the type of a star that a host the planet, and the location of the planet and the distance to the host star is going to tell you if there is chance of having liquid water in the surface of that planet. But now we have seen that also to have liquid water in the surface of the planet depends on the conditions of the planet. That means the type of atmosphere, the surface, everything. So there is more information that only look for the location of the planet. And maybe in the future, now with all the technology that we have, we were waiting 10, 20 years for the James Webb Space Telescope. And now we are getting the information of the chemistry and the atmospherical composition of the exoplanet. So now we have another idea. In astronomy, there is always we always need to introduce chemistry also in the equation, but now we are looking the conditions and we're having more information about the planets, what that we didn't have in the past in that type of resolution. So we have much more information now also.
What is the difference between information you get from James Webb and from ALMA?
That's depend basically on the wavelength. So depends on which part of the electromagnetic spectrum do you want to see is the type of instrument that you are going to use. So you have optical, infrared, ultraviolet, X-ray, gamma ray, um, and this very long wavelength that is radio, basically. So there is a lot of difference. For example, in the radio astronomy part, you can see these very cold environments, and it's usually used for these very low temperature places in the universe. So you can see across the dust, for example, where a star is forming, or you can see black holes that are also very difficult to see, and that basically depends. That is what make that we use different type of instrument to see different type of things in the universe.
I just want to share the images of these telescopes that you work with. So this is the James Webb telescope, my friends, and this is the ALMA where Priscilla works. And I see why it's called array because there are so many telescopes next to each other.
Hmm. And they work as one single antenna, one very large antenna,
Mm.
and basically depends on the configuration, on the type of antennas that you're using, the resolution, and the images that you can have.
So it's not like a telescope where you will put your eye on the lens and see what is going in the world, but these are radio telescopes. What kind of data do you get, and how do you're a data analyst? So what kind of data you receive, and how do you find meaning in that data?
Well, basically that we are receiving signals, and there is a way to transform, to convert these signals into images. So you have to use I don't know, a mathematical method, a procedure to convert these signals into images. And when you have images, you can see if, for example, a source have a structure, or depending on the resolution, you can have these forms, or maybe you want to see the flux of the source that is changing in the time. That's something that is also very important. So that is basically what the radio astronomy do, because as you said, we are not using this telescope where we put the eye. And I have to say that's a very romantic idea of the astronomy. And when you enter to this to or you go to the modern observatories, you see that, yeah, nobody is looking through the telescope to see this type of images now, because you need a very huge mirror that is going to give you the resolution, and everything is connected so you can see the images that you're getting in the computer, basically. So everything is programming now, and you need to know how to process the images, and there is mathematical method also to get all the information. So depending on the type of telescope is the information that you can get, but of course you can translate these signals into images also.
What is the radius of ALMA? You said all these antennas combine together and make a telescope. So what is the like diameter or radius of ALMA?
I think maybe I'm wrong, but it's around, I'm going to say something close. It's like 20 kilometers of diameter.
20 kilometers.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yes.
But still, it's not enough, right? with 20 kilometers radius, what do you see? What kind of wavelengths you get? Because you mentioned millimeters there. So
Ah, but you are
how?
asking me about the diameter of the array of antennas?
Yeah, I was asking you the diameter of array of antennas, but the name is has millimeter in them. So why do you need 20-kilometer long radius telescope to see millimeters of information?
No, that's two different things because the array is very long because you can move these antennas. The configuration of the antenna change every 1 month, and that is going to allow you to improve the resolution or to make have a smaller resolution. The millimeter part that is in the name is basically depends on the electronic that you're using in the antenna. So one thing is that you can move and make different configuration of the antennas to have a better resolution, but the other part, the millimeter part or sub-millimeter part, depends on the receptors and the electronic that you're using in the antenna to get that information. It's not
Hmm.
depending on how, well, of course, also depends on the resolution, but it's basically the electronics.
Okay, got it. How big, if we connect all the telescopes in the world on Earth, is it possible? I think people are doing it. What do you expect to see, or with all the, like, imagine the whole Earth being one disk seeing in the universe? What
A
would
black
happen?
hole. You
You
can
can
see a
discover a
black
black
hole
hole.
with that. Yeah, because the Event Horizon Telescope is the one that you're saying now because that is using the antennas of the in United States, the VLA. There are other ones in I think it's in Africa, but I'm not really sure right now. And Chile, and I think there is another one in another part of the world, and they are connected together to have this one huge telescope, worldwide telescope.
Wow.
So you need that type of power to see black holes, and that's the way that they do it.
Now imagine we have one disk, like we make one disk out of telescopes on Earth and on Mars. Like that's even bigger. What, like, uh, Earth and Mars coming together and making a telescope? What would you see then?
Well, these type of things are basically of this very huge arrays, or you want to have bigger telescope, uh, are basically designed to see very small things. So one of the challenges that we had, for example, with exoplanets is that at the beginning, when the first exoplanet, or well, second exoplanet was discovered, uh, the size of these exoplanets was Jupiter size. So the technology in that time allowed to see this very huge planet, and also the techniques allowed the astronomical techniques to discover the exoplanet allowed to see this type of very big exoplanet. But if you have more resolution, you can go to these very small exoplanets, Earth-like exoplanet, maybe exomoons. There is people that is also looking rings in exoplanets. So you need more and more resolution and more powerful technology to see the details. And also this type of
Hmm.
telescope, very huge ones, help people from cosmology to see the beginning of the universe. So they're also being used for that. And that is basically you want to have more and more resolution so you can see the details that you have in the things that you are discovering. For example, if you see the first images of Mars, you can see something very blur in the surface. You see craters in there, but anyway, it's very blur, and it's not a good image. It can give you an idea, but it's not a good image. And if you compare that to the high resolution images that we have now from the surface of Mars, you can see the difference, and it's basically that is what we are basically looking to make when we make these very huge telescopes.
The job of an astrobiologist is to look at or to search for exoplanets, not for life in particular, like a biologist would. Or we usually use the term biology to understand organisms, but what you are doing as an astrobiologist is actually searching exoplanet that would be suitable for life.
That's a very good question because, well, of course, astrobiology and biology have a lot of things in common because we are looking organisms that we know in other planets. But it's not that we are looking life only on exoplanets. I think exoplanets, we have a lot of them, so we can um, understand the formation, the chemistry, so it can give us an idea of what we are looking. But I think that we don't have to forget that we have this bunch of planets also next to us in the solar system, and the idea is basically to understand or to search if also in the solar system we can find life. But this in particular, astrobiology, the definition have been evolved from the 60s mainly. And first it was an idea of to search for life outside in the universe. Then it was an idea to search for life depending on the astronomical parameters. But now astrobiology is basically looking how life evolved on Earth, and if we can see something similar in other planets, maybe that is going to give us an idea of maybe that planet can have life also. And I think that even now, astrobiology have been, well, it's a very interdisciplinary area also, but there is more people involved now. It's not only astronomers and biologists. We have geophysicists, we have geologists, we have a lot of people that is working to understand the conditions that where life can evolve. So there is a lot of uh, different areas that are giving information to have an idea if we can have life in other planets, not only in Earth and exoplanet, but also near to us in the solar system.
What is the biggest discovery in the astrobiology field up to date?
In the best. Well, I think that there is, at least for me, that's my personal opinion, that I think that to search, well, to discover exoplanets is one of the things that, of course, changes forever, and not only in astronomy, but also it gives the chance to astrobiology to be developed after that. And I think that extremophiles were also a very important part of all this develop of astrobiology because, well, there is several of them. These are microorganisms, but if you go to other areas, for example, if you go to the deep ocean, you can see that there is organisms, complex organisms, that are also living in these very extreme environments. And it's very interesting because they have different forms. The body changes because of the pressure that you have in the deep ocean. uh, this They are not similar to the ones that we eat also, and they are all they are in the surface. So I think that basically, to understand that we have these very different life forms that are living in these very extreme environments, um, also give us a chance to understand that maybe we need to search for those also in other planets, not persons, but this very extreme organism. And those things, these two things, I think is the most important ones for astrobiology.
As you're saying, pressure, organism pressure, and deep ocean, I just visualized it'll be so difficult to kill an cockroach which is in the depth of Marina Trench because it has already taken so much pressure that the pressure of a foot on it won't make any difference.
Mhm. No, that
Okay.
would be
Anyways,
amazing. Yeah. And you cannot imagine what else there is in the deep ocean, but it's giving us an idea of maybe there is life forms that we don't even imagine because we haven't seen it.
Priscilla, what do you think is your biggest accomplishment or contribution to this field of study?
Well, I think it's not something academical. Oh well, it's not really a research, but I hope I hope this is my biggest contribution to form new researchers in this field. Even when I work in ALMA in the observatory, I also have students, and I have also this community. And I think the my idea is to keep forming people in planetary science and to give them the opportunity to meet more people that is also interested in this field. So that is something that I have been doing this at least 5 years, and it's like a reward for me because I can see that there is people that uh, undergraduates mainly that are doing very very good jobs in their thesis. They are the first ones that are doing research in planetary science. We are working in the surface of Mars, looking how the surface change when there is a storm dust. So I think that is my biggest contribution, and I hope to keep doing that because I really want that my country have this area also develop in the future.
You're the first Chilean woman who has published a planetary atmosphere and their habit habitability.
Yes.
What So congrats on that. And what did you write about it in this publication? Like what can one read and find in this?
Well, I really enjoyed to make that publication. It was my PhD thesis, and I was simulating the climate of one type of exoplanet. Is basically an Earth-like exoplanet fully covered of water, and we were looking how the atmospheric dynamic of the planet changes when you change the oblique. So we discovered, if we compare with Earth, Earth has a change in the inclination every 41,000 years. So we wanted to see how different was the dynamic of the atmosphere when you change this inclination. And we
Uh,
discovered
I'm
that
sorry. What do you mean by inclination?
ah The inclination is basically the rotation axis of the planet has an angle
Mm-hmm.
from the perpendicular line that's perpendicular to the orbit. I can show you a image also, so you can have an idea. This one. Can you see it?
Well, you can describe it. You can describe it.
Yeah, it's the axis, rotation axis that has an angle depending on the perpendicular line, and this is perpendicular to the
Mm-hmm.
orbit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if that keeps changing in 41,000 years.
Yes, and it's only 2 degrees of, well, changes only 2 degrees, and we can see that there is several interglacier. It's basically this ice age depends on this change of 2 degrees. But in my thesis,
Oh.
what we did was to change it from 0 to 90 degrees to 30 to 90 degrees to see how the dynamic changes all the time. And uh, give me 1 second. Sorry.
So the Sahara would have been the North or the South Pole if you tilted it further.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you very well.
If you tilt it 90 degrees, then the Sahara will become the North or the South Pole, right?
It's
If you
going to
tilt the Earth's
be,
axis,
yeah, let me show you with the diagram.
you'll have to describe the diagram so our viewers on YouTube can see it and the people listening to audio can also understand it by
Yeah,
imagination.
okay. So I'm showing a diagram of the Earth. So you can see that this inclination obliquity is the angle of the rotation axis of the planet and the perpendicular line to the orbital plane. Did you understand that?
No, I didn't understand. But anyways,
Well,
what does
anyway,
that mean? Like for a person who's not in the
yeah, so
mathematics field.
basically, if you change the way how radiation enters to the planet, you're going to have a different configuration of the dynamic of the atmosphere. So now you see that the
Hmm.
the clouds move to one direction, that winds also have this movement, very particular movements. You also have monsoons that depends on the circulation and the difference of temperature that you have between the continents and the ocean. Everything that's, if you see all of these movements from a satellite, you will see that the earth is not quiet but is moving. You have clouds moving all the time, and we basically wanted to see if we change the way how radiation of the sun enters to the atmosphere, how this movement changes in the when we change the radiation. So
So what
we
did you find?
realize
What was
yeah so we realized that if we put the North Pole facing the sun and receiving all the radiation, uh, basically, if we move it and we put the North Pole in the equator facing the sun, we are going to have a very different configuration of the winds, of the clouds. The movements will be very different. And that also impacts on the habitability of the planet, because we realize
hmm.
that uh, more places in the world wasn't habitable as we can expect now if we change the way how radiation enters the atmosphere.
Uranus, if I'm not wrong, rotates on 90 degrees, right?
Yes,
The axis, the
yes,
North Pole
exactly.
is facing the sun. So, I mean, the days and nights would be so long, like the whole the southern hemisphere would have been frozen if the north
Hmm.
only faces the sun.
Yes.
So, if Earth's North Pole was facing the sun all the time, which would have been the ideal location for life to thrive?
Um,
Near the equator, in the tropics, or in the southern part? Like somewhere in the middle, right?
yeah, let me. I'm trying to remember the diagram. I can't remember very well now.
Yeah, it's okay. You
Yeah,
don't need
but
to be precise, but
no, but it was basically around the equator. But there is one
hmm,
thing also that the how we address this habitability was basically there is a variable in weather well, climate in general that relates the humidity of the place with the earth temperature. So that is giving us an idea if that place in particular can be habitable depending on the humidities and the temperature, and it's the way how these heat waves are measured. So we use that variable and we put it into we use it as an indicator of habitability in a warm planet because now and usually the planets that people well science says that are not habitable are the ones that are very cold, but we went to the other extreme and says okay, but what happens if our planet is warm and how this heat is going to affect habitability.
hmm. So what can you say after that? Even though the planet is in the right position from the sun, if the axis was not right, there would have been no life.
Yes, exactly. So the life on Earth depends basically that we had the conditions, the stats, the precise conditions for life to evolve, and also that we have a very stable climate during millions of years that allow that to life evolve. And we also have this very calm stable environment also because the sun is active of course but it's not as active as other stars, and Jupiter is also acting as a shield for all these debris, these asteroids that can came to the earth. But in general terms, if you see the Earth history, you will see that everything is very stable with some perturbations in between, of course. And that's the thing that is allowing
Personally, what
us
I
to
think,
be here.
I think we are trying to search for life Earth like, but we might never know that life can thrive in other conditions also, a different kind of life based on some different chemical combinations. Like, what do you think? I heard Titan, the moon of Saturn or Jupiter, also has these climatic cycles like monsoon and like evaporation and clouds forming and the rain dropping, but it's based on methane. So, do you think there would be a different kind of life there based on the methane blocks?
Well, I'm not really a biologist to answer that question, but Titan in particular is very interesting because there is not all the planets have the same atmospheric dynamic that we can see on Earth. Because here we see clouds, vertical movements, horizontal movements also. But that type of dynamic on the atmosphere similar things. You can see it in Titan too, and also in Venus. There is some things that are also similar in Venus. Other things, we need a dense atmosphere and to have temperature gradients in the planet or the moon to have this dynamical, this atmospheric dynamics. So this is only one of the conditions that we need for life, but it's not the only one. So yeah, if we are going to find life on Titan, that's, I think, a good question for a biologist.
About Mars, you love Mars. You have created a Mars society in Chile. How is the progress in finding life on Mars? Are you, I mean, what is your subject of study? Is it to find life on Mars, or is to think of ways to start or create life on Mars once we get there?
Well, one of the things there is, yeah, sure, there is two things that are happening on Mars these days. I think one is try to understand if there it was life in the past of Mars. That is basically what Perseverance is doing with the Jezero crater and the samples that is taken. And if doing during this mission they can get information and with these samples they can get yeah, well, information basically if Mars had life from the past, it will be great, and maybe it can give us an idea if there is life or not in Mars, in the present of Mars. We need the samples for that, so we also need to wait until the sample return mission came with all this sample from Perseverance and the Jezero crater. But there is also another is looking into the future of the humanity and the explorers and the people that is going to go to Mars, because that is something that is going to happen. It's not just an idea. There is several of industries that are planning to go to Mars, and what we can see, for example, SpaceX that is doing all this development uh, with this idea to go and to send people to Mars. And that's a huge challenge because you need to put people in other planet that doesn't have the conditions for your body. For example, you are used to live in this planet without a helmet, without oxygen supplies, without the exposure of the radiation so strong that you can see it on Mars. So there is several things. Also, the gravity is going on Mars. So there is a lot of challenges, and it's very interesting how this is evolving because of the industries, basically. And you can see that there is a strong competition. I don't want to see that it's a race between the countries. There is more collaboration in this type of development around the world. So there is two very different things that are happening with Mars now, but we are going to get a lot of information. And I also think that with all the technology that we are going to develop to go to Mars, that is going to help us also to address all the issues that we have now on Earth. All these type of missions are being be developed.
Absolutely. The Mars Society you created, what is the agenda of that? What do you do there?
What will I do on the Chilean chapter?
Yes. What is the Mars
So
Society about?
sorry, come again.
What is the Mars Society about? What do people
Ah,
do in
okay.
Mars Society?
Okay, okay. So, Mars Society is an international organization that is basically doing, well, first, a lot of outreach, is joining a lot of people together, collaborating to address all these challenges, put people on Mars. And it's very interesting because they are trying to push a lot, not only on the industries but also with the governments and the people, and to make all these people understand how good or what we are going to get if we put humans on Mars. And there is a lot of development based on that, because the Mars Society is joining several actors together, and I think it's basically what the organization is doing. For example, we can
Hmm.
see a lot of work being doing from the universities, but basically you can see research in the universities, but depending on the country, you're going to be or not connected with the industries. So Mars Society is one way to get different actors together with this objective to go to Mars and to put people on Mars. And that means that
So Mars
you're going
Society
to
is
you will need to address the conditions. You will have, for example, the suits, maybe what how you're going to live in there.
Mars Society is integrating all or aggregating all the factors, industries, and enthusiasts and scientists who are related to life on Mars together, isn't it?
Yes.
All right. On to the signature round. Name three people, living or dead, that you'd like to have lunch with.
Oh, well, I think that is not only one or three. I will love to
Top
meet.
three.
Yeah, I know, but I have a group. I will love to to meet all the women that begin the astronomy, and this was the
No, I why
calculators
I'm asking
in Harvard.
why I'm asking three people is there's a second part to the question. So name three people that you'd like to have a lunch with. Which are the first people who come to your mind? Living or dead, from the future, I mean from the past or present.
Mm, well, I am not really like fan of people, so yeah, I don't know really.
They don't need to be fan. Like maybe you just want to you're very curious and you just want to know about something. Or yeah, it would be pretty cool to discuss this with this person, something like that. Or I want to meet this person to discuss something about future or take their perspective on some things right now. Anybody, any three people, maybe from astronomy or not from astronomy, from science or not science.
Ah, well, one of the person that I will love to meet is Chris Hadfield, the astronaut. But yeah,
Chris
I'm really
Hartfield.
curious about him because he wrote a book about his life and how to survive basically on Earth with all these astronauts. Well, he present his life as astronaut and how all these things that he learned help him in on Earth. And I think that
Hmm.
could be a great meeting. Um,
Okay. So you're on a. What other two people? Are you able to think?
yeah,
Or
there
should
is
we just go with
another
one?
one. There is a writer, and she wrote. The name is, I don't know if well pronounced, is Dava Sobel, and she's a writer in, it's like science, history of science. And yeah, I
Hmm.
will love also to meet her. I think to write several books and about these historical things in science and very important things, and that could be a very interesting conversation also about history. And
So,
maybe
yeah,
Kandinsky. I was thinking not scientists, but also painters. And I would love to meet
okay.
Kandinsky and to have a
Now you
conversation
are
with
on a
him.
lunch with them.
Ah,
You are on a lunch with Kandinsky. This is the second part of the question. Now you are
yeah.
on a lunch. Imagine that you are having lunch with them and you had to ask one question to everybody. What question would you ask? So, what question would you ask Kandinsky? One
I think
question.
I will ask him because you know that he had I think it's synesthesia, the name of the um well, there is a connection in the brain that allows these people to see music as colors, for example. So he paint a lot of
Oh, yeah.
things because of that. So I will love to know if he realized about that, and how was for him to convert the music into lights, colors, and everything. If he knew how what was happening with him.
What question would you ask the author?
Well, I think I will love to know which is the favorite history that to learn, and maybe I think we are going to have a discussion. I don't know, of something, a fun fact that is written in their books, and we didn't know is only one thing that she knows. Who knows?
What is one question you would ask the astronaut?
Well, I think the usual one. How is to live on space? How he felt? Um, what is the feeling to leave the Earth? I have been in simulators, but what is happening with him when he's in the rocket and is going out the Earth? Basically, I think.
Oh, that reminds me, we've had a astronaut teacher who is an astronaut teacher who's also training to be an astronaut. I mean, he's trained. He has to just take off now. Mike Mongo, you can find his episode. He was
Yeah,
describing how it feels like in those flights, in zero gravity flights.
amazing.
So I was, yeah, it is very interesting because it's not like swimming in the water or anything we can possibly imagine here. So all different dynamics and laws of physics apply. It's a different world, and it'd be so cool if it happens if Elon Musk does it within this lifetime. There's an activity now. Could you please close your eyes for us?
Yeah,
Think of your favorite memory
my favorite memory.
and yeah, your favorite memory and describe to
Okay,
us in your own language.
in Spanish. Okay. Vi, bueno, una vez estaba buceando y vi una mantarraya águila debajo, se estaba moviendo por debajo de nosotros. Y creo que fue la imagen más maravillosa que he visto en mi vida.
Please translate to us now in English.
Once I was diving, and below of us, um, eagle ray appear like flying below, and it was amazing. I think it's my favorite memory.
Wow. You're flying
Yeah.
above the eagle.
Yes. This eagle ray.
How did the eagle react to see humans above him?
It didn't saw us. I don't know how deep it was because I was in Galapagos in Equator. Um, and the water was so clear that I think we were diving around 20-meter depth, and the ray was below of us, maybe 30 meters. I don't know. It was difficult to to calculate the distance because the water was very clear.
Okay, I got confused. I thought you're talking about skydiving, and I thought you mentioned eagle, the bird. So I was
No.
imagining you are above the bird eagle and you're seeing. So, but you're talking about sea diving, deep sea diving,
Yes, I'm
and
talking
above a
about
manta ray.
ocean. Yeah. There is
Okay, cool,
one
got it.
that seems like it's like flying in the water.
Absolutely. If you think fishes are the birds of the ocean, flying around and laying eggs.
Yeah, no, these ones, eagle rays.
Okay. I describe it to us. So they're like rays, like stingrays, a variety
Yes,
of
but
stingray.
they are are, are bigger, are huge. I think. Well, I don't know the size of this type of rays, but
But it's double the size of stingray.
yeah, the stingrays is very small. I remember to saw one of those, and I don't know, maybe 30 centimeters. These
Okay.
ones, it says, yeah, it can range, according to Wikipedia, it can reach until 7 meter, the wings extended. So are huge.
Okay, next question then. How to make money?
Yeah, but I don't know what you're meaning.
It's an open ended question we ask everybody. How to make money?
But yeah, but what do you mean?
How to earn money?
No, yeah, I understand the question, but what is the
What
goal
is the
of the?
context? No, there is, I mean, um, there are people searching for new ways to earn money. Or you can tell us how money is made in your field. How do you get paid? Or how does one doing in research get paid? You can, when asked about how to make money, you can tell about these things or anything
Ah,
else.
yeah, okay. Well, basically, one of the things that people do usually on science is to ask for funding from governments to found their research. So that's the usual way to do it. Um, yeah, I think it's the most common way also here in when people do research.
And what are the parameters for the government to evaluate, and how much money can you ask for, or how much they can give? Who decides?
No, that's variable. That's really depends on the research and the funding that you're applying, the type of the goal that you have for your research, because it's not the same if you're trying to be a fellow in an institution versus to create a research center. It's not the same. So it really depends on the focus of your research.
I ask because there are some things which may or may not be commercial. So I'm doing this podcast out of passion. It is kind of a research only. I feel that I'm contributing to science, ethnography, or anthropology in a way, talking to people of different country. So, who is the person who would be willing to contribute or be a part of this? Because it's not like a commercial dance, right? People get viral with TikTok and entertaining videos on YouTube, but that's not how scientists work. If they had a commercial goal on back of their head, they wouldn't be able to focus on their own studies or field of research. So, how to get funding for an endeavor which is similar to s- science, but nobody might have done it before? A new field in science, per se.
Well, like everything, I think that first you have to present a project that is viable, that you said that you can do it, and you, the person that is funding you, maybe a government or an enterprise, we don't know, can see that the achievement, the goals are realistic. So depending on that is the if you're going to get funding or not for a research or maybe a product.
So, for
And
example, what is the motivation of the government or the company funding? I want to see if I go with a presentation that I'm doing a search on finding life on the south pole of moon. Who would be interested, and why would they be interested in? Why would government be interested in funding me or any company? Government has got so many expenses. They have to give jobs. They have to feed people and do so many things. Why would they be interested in a research project that doesn't directly affect their vote bank?
technology, that's basically it. And we not need more funding to have better technology that is also going to help here to make solutions for our problems on earth also. So it's basically an amazing goal, but it also have a huge impact on our quality of life on earth.
So you have to present yourself that your achievement will also help in improving the quality of life on earth, and they will get credits in that. Is that the right way to say?
That was a question.
I was thinking about how to present it to them, but I guess we get the idea of what you're saying. You mentioned you're an entrepreneur and also into art. So, what do you do on the entrepreneur side, and what do you do as an artist?
Well, I was an entrepreneur where when the foundation was active, basically during the pandemic, and we were selling several courses on astrobiology with other scientists to get more people involved into the subject. So, and as an artist, I also paint a lot of things related to astronomy and other things too. I paint in watercolor. So, well, I like to do several things, not only astronomical objects. So plants and everything. So, yeah,
What do you think art does for the world?
it's a way of how you communicate. So it's very important that we have art also incorporated into our lives because it's one way to show how we are and communicate different things that we also think that you can represent maybe in a painting or music or a representation also. So it's a way of communication and it's a very important one.
What is the best advice you have ever received?
The best advice I ever received. Be yourself. I think it's the best thing that somebody told me once.
What's on your bucket list next?
To lunch. We are almost in time for lunch here.
Yes, and it's I'm almost time for bed.
Yeah, we have a
Almost
very
time for
different.
minutes to midnight. Uh
Oh,
I
very late.
there was a question. Sorry. As a astronomer, your sleep cycles are different, right? Because you have to stay awake at night and observe the sky. Or is it not so because you get the data anyway?
Well, most of the astronomers, yeah, and people that work in astronomy have the sleep very change. Um, but it really depends on the work that you do, because if you are doing more analysis than taking data, you are going to have a usual schedule for work. So we are not
Mhm.
only working at night, but there is people that, yes, it is working at night.
How has artificial intelligence helping you in
Ah,
your research?
I think it's basically an assistant. So you can ask things to improve things, and but you really need to be guiding the output. So I think there is still a lot of things in develop, uh, but it can be very helpful.
What gets you excited about the future?
I want to see when people arrive to Mars.
What's your favorite movie?
Interstellar.
How many times have you watched it?
How many times? What?
How many times have you watched Interstellar?
Well, I don't know, 3, 4, maybe.
You know, the person actually bought 500 acres of cornfield just for that
Oh, I
movie.
didn't know.
Uh, Christopher Nolan, who also has
Hmm?
come out with his movie Oppenheimer. He does realistic scenes. He doesn't like CGI. So that's interesting. What's your favorite book?
Favorite book? I think Dracula from Bram Stoker.
Why?
I don't know. Uh, it's it's a nice story. It's so well written, and well, I like it. It's fun.
I haven't read. I don't know the story. But Dracula sounds like a devilish, blood sucking monster kind of person. Like that's what
Yeah,
we
but
relate
it's
Dracula with,
not
right?
the real history of the person itself. Is more is based on that, but it's more fiction.
Okay. What do you like to do for fun?
Well, I love to play with my dogs and be in the outside.
Hmm. Um, talking about dogs, Chile has a very unique biodiversity as well. I read that 50% of animals there are only in Chile, nowhere else in the world. And I also like the llamas. Have you ever thought of petting a llama? I really like their long necks,
Ah, yes. When you
furry.
go to the north, you can see well people that have llamas, and also around some places.
How is Antarctica for astronomy?
It's very good because it's very dry. You are usually looking for places that are very dry in the world because you need low
So, do you
water
have
vapor in the
telescopes there?
atmosphere. Ah,
Do you have telescopes in Antarctica?
I think there is one. The name is South Pole Observatory.
Are there any parting words for the audience?
Well, not just to thank you for the opportunity to talk about my country. I hope that more people get interested in coming to Chile. It's an amazing country, so please come here and visit the observatories. It's a really nice experience to see how they work. It's really amazing. And also you will see that there is a lot of people that is interested also in looking for life in the universe. So uh, I hope that you can came here, you have the opportunity, and thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about these subjects.
This episode is brought to you by Tanmay Shah. That's me. Best way to support this show is by sharing this with your friends and dropping a comment and review on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You can become my patron and a sponsor. That's not all. You can buy Rocklaz merchandise and NFTs and much more. See all the links in description for details. Rocklaz Radio with Tanmay Shah.
Rocklaz Radio.
Rocklaz.
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 Rocklaz Radio with Tanmay Shah.